Good morning. My name is Scott Green, and welcome to today's presentation. Good morning. What I'm presenting today is intended as a foundation for the leadership model we're striving to achieve within our organization, a practical framework to build upon that will operate as the heart of our organization's culture. As a frontline nonprofit, we will be working with communities that are facing challenges that are frequently urgent and are always personal to our clients. That means we cannot afford to be caught unprepared by unexpected problems or too slow to react. We also can't be overly reactive without planning, out of sense of urgency, or disorganized and wasting time on internal conflicts or organizational politics. This guide will cover 10 areas of leadership that will help form the culture and leadership structure that we need to help us do this work well and not just help our clients, but make real change within our community. Let's walk through them now. As a direct service organization, our goals are not abstract. They are tied to very real problems and life outcomes for real people. How many individuals we serve in a week, whether or not we hit our funding targets, and whether we're equipped to handle the next case that we encounter they have direct impact on the lives of those who may need our help, and by extension, our entire community at large. To avoid the chaos and confusion that could derail our mission and impact the lives of our clients, we start by establishing clear goals. We accomplish these goals more consistently when the whole team is part of setting and owning those goals. Having everyone affected by the decision take part in the process of making the decision builds trust and commitment and reduces internal friction. We seek to form an agile structure where our people are empowered to make decisions necessary to complete their tasks without waiting for approval, and leadership is left with the bandwidth they need to focus on the bigger picture and contingency planning. Our goal is to avoid micromanagement by building a team capable of functioning well together as a team and as individuals in the face of rapid changes and adversity. If we identify the strengths and weaknesses of each member of our team and give them the tools they need to succeed, we save time and resources by preventing problems before they can occur. The people we serve are often in vulnerable situations. That means how our staff shows up for them on an emotional level matters, not just for the client's experience, but for the quality of the decisions that get made on their behalf. Research consistently links high emotional intelligence to better ethical decision making and less counterproductive workplace behaviors. People with strong emotional intelligence are more likely to act as good citizens within their organization, within their community, and within their own families. Emotional intelligence is also a teachable skill. It's investing in the development of the emotional intelligence of our staff at every level of the organization, from top to bottom, leadership and frontline employees alike, is one of the highest impact things that we can do to achieve success for our people, our organization, and our community. Internal politics within an organization consistently leads to toxic behaviors. As a nonprofit where resources are tight and trust is imperative, playing internal politics can be especially damaging and frequently leads to unethical behaviors. When people perceive favoritism within the power structure, or see poor decisions being made or decisions made for the wrong reasons, they stop collaborating with each other. They circle their wagons internally and they focus on protecting themselves instead of focusing on achieving the organization's goals. There are two very well established theories that explain the reasons for this dynamic. Conservation of resources theory tells us that people are motivated to protect what they already have because as humans we feel the impact of loss more than we feel the impacts of gains. And the social exchange theory tells us that relationships are built on the expectation of getting something in return when we sacrifice our time or resources for someone else. The history of society is built on the trust of equivalent exchange. When leadership breaks that trust, the whole system shifts towards self-preservation of everyone within it instead of the organization's goals. And that lack of focus slows things down, introducing opportunities for failure. The solution to this problem is authentic leadership, transparency, consistency, and accountability from leaders who act on their values instead of their self-interests, that invite feedback from all levels and openly acknowledge their mistakes. Build the kind of trust that keeps an organization clear of toxic politics and focused on what matters. An organization that only improves on what it already does well will eventually fall behind their competition in other areas. An organization that only chases new ideas loses sight of its own feet and quickly stumbles. Research points to ambidextrous learning, a dual-focused learning strategy, as the best approach to sustaining long-term organizational performance. In practice for us, that means dedicating attention and resources to exploitation of internal processes, tools, and knowledge to improve upon the things we already do well, and exploration of new ideas, new approaches, and new needs that we might be able to address, and better ways to deliver our services. This dual learning strategy strains resources more than a single focus would, but the payoff is the ability to better predict and face challenges head on as we meet them, and the ability to better identify and exploit opportunities for improvement. For a nonprofit operating to benefit our community, it is crucial that our organization is adaptive and agile, able to respond to whatever challenges we may face, and ambidextrous learning is what builds and maintains that capacity over time. Whether we are negotiating with a funding partner or navigating a sensitive conversation with a client, we only achieve an ethical standard of communication if both parties are on equal standing with genuine two-way communication. That means it is important to stay open to perspectives that challenge our own and find ways to persuade people through trust rather than pressure or manipulation, never pretending to accept an idea that we don't actually accept, just to smooth over negotiations and move things forward only to shift our positions later on. Sustainable relationships are built on credibility, especially in this kind of nonprofit space where investors' only return is the perception of our success, and our clients need to trust us in order for us to be able to help them. Once you compromise, it's hard to rebuild. The goal in any negotiation is mutual benefit, not winning. Ideally, both sides will walk away from the table feeling like they're better off than when they started. Conflict within our team or with the community or a client won't always be resolvable through standard conflict resolution techniques. When a conflict is rooted in a deeply held belief, whether cultural, personal, or political, a different approach is needed, called transformative dialogue. The underlying concept that drives a transformative dialogue is that a person's self-identity isn't in a fixed state. People's perspectives shift through their experiences and relationships. Rather than arguing over positions, a transformative dialogue focuses on understanding the needs and assumptions of the individuals at conflict and shifting the focus instead to shared values of both parties. If you approach conflict with an attempt to shift perspectives of everyone involved, resolution becomes possible even in situations that seem intractable. It requires patience and empathy, but it produces meaningful outcomes that last. We build our teams using the Team Advantage strategy, a structure four-phase process that integrates coaching into the team development with a recursive process of improvement. Phase 1 is conducting confidential interviews with team members to understand their day-to-day experiences, what is and isn't working for them, and areas of conflict for each individual. Phase 2 is to identify and address common themes discovered in those interviews and address them openly as a group, taking the opportunity to develop a team charter together and establish clear goals and meaningful ways to track progress. Gamifying that progress where possible to increase engagement and ownership of the goals is helpful. Phase 3 is providing individual coaching in addition to group training, targeted at achieving the goals set in Phase 2. Phase 4 is assessing the results from Phase 2 and 3 and using that data to refine the approach and begin again from Step 1. This continuous improvement loop has compounding effects as the skills learned are modeled throughout our organization and into the community through interaction with our clients. When an organization works directly with the public, especially when working with communities that are frequently low income, multilingual, or otherwise culturally diverse, cross-cultural communication isn't optional. It is core to delivering our services effectively. A useful framework to power effective cross-cultural communication is to learn how power distance differs in other cultures. Different cultural norms affect how a person is perceived within the hierarchy of an organization and the perceptions of their authority, which has a direct impact on the quality and content of communication needed to avoid conflict through cultural differences. Learning to understand those differences helps recognize when and how to adapt communication to reduce misunderstandings or damaging trust. We teach this through interactive, context-rich methods such as role-playing, structured discussion of real scenarios, analysis of video for nonverbal clues, and self-reflective writing to help personal integration of the information. The goal is to develop the ability of every individual in the organization to think critically and inclusively in their cross-cultural interactions. The act of coaching is working together to accelerate a person's growth and potential to achieve specific goals through structured conversation and active listening. Coaching helps people build self-awareness and gives them tools necessary to identify and solve their own problems. In a frontline, public-oriented nonprofit, our staff helps clients navigate difficult life situations and have unique opportunities to act as coaches in every situation and interaction. That is why we strive for a transformational coaching strategy. Transformational coaching shifts how people see themselves and their work, changing their mindset and self-identity, not just their habits. The framework for a transformational coaching has 4 parts. We train our staff to find solutions to problems rather than need someone else's instructions so they can model the same skills for our clients. Coaching that transforms our staff into coaches for our clients. Second, changing the environment of the learning helps boost the absorption of new ideas. We should endeavor to seek ways to incorporate traditional learning structures into the process to increase the effectiveness of the coaching and training. We must keep the content and focus of the coaching grounded in the actual challenges faced by our staff daily. Irrelevant material is a distraction that hinders absorption of what is important. Fourth, we must use varied teaching methods to ensure everyone absorbs the materials regardless of their primary learning style. The result we aim to achieve is a team that doesn't just execute tasks. They think, adapt, and grow. How decisions are made in an organization shapes the sense of belonging of the people within it, whether they are part of something or just working a job. Participative decision-making is involving all of the people affected by the decision-making in the decision-making process, and consistently produces more creative and committed teams who achieve more positive outcomes. For an organization working with limited resources to deliver critical assistance, that creativity and commitment is genuinely important. It is the difference between a team going through the motions and a team of caring, dedicated problem solvers. To facilitate this kind of decision making means running collaborative planning workshops to discuss strategies, consistent feedback channels to assess progress, and determine the need for future changes, and a deliberate effort to avoid top-down decision-making on issues that affect frontline staff. When people feel like their voice matters, they feel a stronger commitment to a cause, and they invest more of themselves into achieving the shared goals of the organization. It's that simple. Each of these 10 areas are meant not only to serve their stated purposes, but also to overlap and enhance each other. Emotional intelligence makes conflict management easier. Authentic leadership reduces political friction. Participative decision-making builds the kind of team that has the skills and resilience to tackle any challenges they face together. This is a framework for the future, not a one-time checklist to accomplish and move on. The goal isn't to implement these 10 things one time and consider it mission accomplished. The goal is to build an organization where these principles become the default way of operation, core to our culture of growth and transformation that we hope to bring to the world. To create an organization that is ethical and sustainable, not just functional. Thank you for listening. Please see the accompanied research paper for a deeper discussion of these principles and references to the research mentioned today, and have a wonderful weekend.